Hey guys, it's been about 600 or 700 kilometers with the new rally suspension on the Xpulse. So I thought I should talk about my observations and who I think it is for and is it worth the money, since I've ridden on it across quite a wide variety of terrains right now. So yeah, let me show you the bike first. So my bike probably does not look as tall as other rally kitted bikes. I'll explain why that is. I'll probably do a separate video talking about all the other add-ons, mods that I've done to the bike, but this one is mostly about the rally kit. Oops, jhadi in the way. Yeah. So the first observation is the bike's riding dynamics completely changes once you install the kit, because not the kit, just the suspension and the stand. I chose not to install the tires because the suspension itself was extremely tall for me. um, I'm not sure if people want to keep looking at the same frame of the bike or at my face, so I decided to keep switching. So yeah, I decided not to go with the Maxxis tires. I do have them, which are up for sale, by the way. But I decided not to put them on because they are of the profile is taller than stock, and the suspension itself was too tall for me. I was barely able to hang from one end to be able to put my foot down on one side. I'm 5'9" and a few centimeters, so based on your height you can figure out if the stand is for you or not. But honestly, it's called a rally suspension, so you're not supposed to be flat footing on both sides on it. You're supposed to be skilled enough to dab with one toe and move on. It's not that only those who can flat foot should be using that. The other the suspension is that because the wheelbase increases, and because you're sitting higher up and the weight of the motorcycle moves a lot higher, the riding dynamics handling completely changes. So the way you used to turn your bike would not be the same after you put on the rally suspension, because the bike sits about 50 higher, which is a lot for the center of gravity to shift. So I realized that I was taking turns much wider, and I could not be turning my handle. It was more like leaning, sliding and turning after the upgrade to the rally suspension. So you'll have to readjust the way you ride the bike after you install it. The best part of it is that it's adjustable. So I can't show you the rear because there's a screw somewhere uh, behind this panel, which if you remove, you can adjust the softness or hardness of that, which is basically the compression. Out here you have two knobs. You have one white knob here, which is for compression. You have COM written there, and you have one here. Yes, I don't know if you can see the red one. So this is for the rebound. The best part about these two is that you can adjust it on the fly. So you need to read up a little bit about compression and rebound before you can figure out exactly what your settings are. And the number of clicks each one of these knobs has, I've realized, are different for different people. Like I have 30 on my compression and 20 on my rebound. I've heard of people having 24. Keeping both of them in the middle, turning them clockwise to bring the settings to the middle is probably the best place to start, and from there you change it as you want. Rebound is basically how fast your wheel goes back to the ground after it's been compressed, and compression rate is basically, if you keep it towards the lower end, the knob, so your suspension is soft, it gets compressed a lot more easily, and the more you turn, the stiffer it gets. You'll have to honestly ride it based on your weight, etc., and your riding style. You decide where you want it. Keeping it too soft doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be ultra comfortable. It will also mean that if you're going through a rocky section, then your suspension will mostly be compressed, even with the smallest of stones or smallest of ditches. So you need to figure out what compression rate you want, and rebound is very important then, because between two rocks, if you want the wheel to come back down and the suspension to expand again, you need to set the rebound rate accordingly. But that would also mean that your rebound might make your suspension feel sharp. I don't know if I make too much sense. You'll have to ride your bike around and keep tweaking with it to figure out the ideal setting for you. The rear, honestly, I haven't adjusted. It's right in the center right now, and it's extremely plush and comfortable for me. And honestly, I'm not a rally guy, I'm not a pro, so I won't be using it for such hardcore trails, though I've started attempting a lot of stuff which I would otherwise not. Where Why I wanted the kit was the stock suspension, especially the rear, has 170 mm of travel, and with my fat ass 85 kilos of weight sitting on it, I would eat up through the preload just with my weight. So then on hard trails, if you're going fast, the suspension would more or less behave like any other bike with 140 mm travel. What Too many mosquitoes. What the rally suspension allows me to do is, even when I'm not supposed to be sitting to hard stuff, I can keep sitting because the suspension is going to take care of it. So yeah, one mod that I did to rein back the handling, because after the front suspension is so tall, it just feels like you're not as connected to the front wheel, and I was never able to estimate how much handle to turn to get my wheel to turn as much. I mean, that needs a lot more practice, but because it's gone so far out, it was feeling a lot more difficult, and also the height was a big problem. So on really gnarly sections where you're tiptoeing on one side, just about balancing on one rock, because of that height, sometimes you miss out on just a few centimeters of what do you call it, being able to touch the rock with your toe. So what I decided to do, which would fix not just the handling, which would rein that in, but also lower the bike, is so one second, I don't know if this is the best part to see. Yeah, if you can see this gap, so I've mounted my this thing triple T lower on the front suspension, so it's lower by 15 mm. Is the same on other side. Yeah, so this distance is 15 mm, and because of this lowering, suddenly I feel like I can handle the bike a lot better. It turns sharper, it's closer to the older handling while still having as much suspension travel. I did lose on a little bit of ground clearance because of that, but honestly, look at that. That's huge. That's huge for a learner like me. I mean, I'm not doing competition level stuff. I'm just doing some trails and having fun on the bike. So yeah, now coming to whether it's worth it or not, like I explained, for me who found the stock suspension to not be enough because of my weight and because of the kind of terrain I was riding, yeah, it's great. Is it worth the price? Hell yes, because I think it's about 26 for the front and back, and you're getting fully adjustable suspension. I don't think there's a better deal in the market right now. What else? What else? I love the fact that you can tune it based on your weight, which is not what most suspension is like. Hell, even the KTM Adventure, you can't do that. Should you get it? I mean, if you're looking for only aesthetics, I don't know, I can't answer that question for you. But if you're someone who wants to get into learning more of enduro riding, who wants to tackle tougher trails where you need that extra travel, you need that extra clearance to go over big rocks, yes, you should. But you should also keep in mind that it's going to make the handling for other regular stuff worse. I don't know if I should say worse. It's going to get more difficult because you'll sit higher, the weight will be much higher, so the bike will behave differently. So be wary of all of that before you invest that much money. I would have not spent it if the stock Xpulse suspension was like the Himalayans. You know, Himalayan has a little bit more travel and the way it handles is a little better. So yeah, if let's say Xpulse 200 Pro, there was a model which a little bit of more suspension, maybe slightly different brakes, maybe slightly different tires, but not full on motocross, full on rally level like what the kit is. I would have loved to spend money on that bike and get it straight off the showroom instead of spending more now and figuring out what works for me and what doesn't. But since that option isn't there, I think I'm quite happy with what we have. Yep. Also, one more reason for me to get this rally suspension was because my stock suspension was extremely sharp and hard and stiff. It's very strange because we have another Xpulse at home. My wife's Xpulse is not like that. I've ridden quite a few other Xpulses of my friends. Their stock setup is really nice and plush. Mine wasn't like that, and I kept going to the showroom, but they didn't seem to know what to do with it. So the rally suspension did really fix that. Yep. I don't know if I've answered all the questions. Most questions are about will I be able to touch my feet down? So I told you I'm 5'9" and a few centimeters. With that the front suspension being lowered by 15 mm, I'm able to flat foot on one side pretty easily. Yeah, and I do intend to raise it back once I have gotten full control of the setup. Yeah, that's about it. I think if you have more questions, please write down in the comments. I'll try to answer them. Thanks. Bye bye.